Hi, I'm John from Unixsurplus, and today we're going to look at hardware RAID cards. We have a variety of different cards here from the old to the new. And what RAID stands for is Redundant Array of Independent Disks. So you're supposed to be able to hook up a lot of disk drives to one controller, and it's going to take care of most of the RAID calculations for you. We have other videos that will tell you about what different RAID levels and what you need for RAID. But this one's going to take a look at just different types of RAID and the history of it and what the controllers look like to give you a better idea of what you want. So this card here is an old-fashioned SCSI RAID card. It has two external 68-pin wide SCSI Ultra 320, Ultra 160 ports. You got to see here that it's got a battery stuck in here. You've got your two internal SCSI ports, and it's got write cache. Write cache is what makes a RAID controller good. Memory on your board, when you see a lot of memory, allows you to then write directly to memory, and then because it's backed with a battery, you won't lose any data. Then you can slowly flush out to your disk drives. So when your card is getting a lot of input and output requests constantly, input coming from the bus, output and data coming from the drives, these microprocessors will tell it whether or not the data in memory is what I'm going to read because I just wrote it, or I'm going to go out to my disk drives. And really what you want to avoid is going out to the slow disk drives. This thing is milliseconds and nanoseconds difference. The memory read times, total read times are around 100 nanoseconds, whereas you can get up to like 5-10 milliseconds. Almost 500 times more time to read to your disk drive. So here's another little historical SCSI RAID card. This was made by Intel. You can always tell Intel has the barcodes right there. It's got a RAID battery backup, but and it's got memory on the back here for the cache. You can see the memory, but this was called a zero-channel RAID card. So what they did, instead of actually making the SCSI connectors come here, they'd talk to the SCSI connectors on the system board. So right through the extra PCI bus ports, they would run another 68 pins of SCSI through there. But SCSI is pretty much dead, and everybody uses SAS and SATA right now. So let's take a look at some of those more modern cards. Here's an older IDE or PATA RAID card. It uses 40-pin connectors here, which would be run to what they call the 80-pin cables because they had ground in between each. You see that you have write cache here and a microprocessor and a PCI interface right here. This was made by 3Ware, which eventually got bought out by mcc, another semiconductor manufacturer, which got bought out by LSI, who bought all these RAID companies together, and LSI is the #1 brand. So we took a look at SCSI and IDE RAIDs. Let's take a look at some SATA RAIDs. This one's made by High Point. This is a popular product for us. High Point is real popular because it has Apple OS X drivers. It has a really good driver base for PC and Windows. A lot of these 3Ware cards are great for servers and enterprise software, but they leave out all the desktop style RAID. This was a unique card that used eSATA, or external SATA connectors. These here are also made by High Point. You can see these are also PCIe interface. Let's compare PCIe to PCIX. You can see how much smaller PCIe or PCI Express is. This one's again made by High Point. You can see that it has flash and cache memory on there. It's their Rocket RAID series. These have external multi-lane connectors. Here's another one here that uses the external style connector for external disk arrays. You can see here that these connectors will fit inside here, and they'll go and talk out to SAS disk arrays like this guy right here. So let's talk a little about 3Ware mcc, which is one of the most popular RAID card manufacturers right now. 3Ware mcc are all owned by LSI now, which is the same company. So we can start out with like the 8500 series RAID card. This is an older SATA 1 RAID card. You can see that it uses straight SATA connectors. You have SATA Marvel SATA interface chips, and it has static memory based cache. Okay? Then you went to the 9550. This is what everybody wants right now, and it's the RAID controller that you want. This is also made by 3Ware mcc. You can see that here they have the same generation on the same board. You can see the Marvell SATA interface chips, and you see here that it goes to a little SODIMM. The other thing it has too is a little connector here where you can hook up your battery-based backup for external battery power, so you can do battery-powered write cache. Everybody wants to go with this just because of drivers. This card right here is the minimum that you want to get. It supports SATA 2 hard drives, it's larger volume size, and the 9550 is where you want to be nowadays. This here is a 9550-8 8-port, and I wanted to show you this one to see the difference in connectors. This uses the CX4 multi-lane connectors, which plug in and out. These are also used in 10 gigabit Ethernet, or called InfiniBand connectors. But each of these is equivalent to 4 SATA cables. So if you were looking for something that goes to a larger system that'll support a lot of drives, you normally want this CX4. You can see here that it has the little Marvell chips, which tell you it's a SATA card, not a SAS-based card. So let's review. We've taken a look at a few different types of connectors. This here is the multi-lane SATA that will connect to our backplanes like this, or our RAID cards as well. We've seen eSATA cables right here. These are external SATA cables. Kind of lost its way. We've seen our external InfiniBand SATA connector right here that goes in there. We also have our multi-lane, which is also sometimes external, connector here, which goes on these high density cards. And we've also taken a look at the disk drives, and you've seen that if it has the notch, then it will support SATA. If it does not, then it supports SAS, if it's a combined connector. Lastly, I want to point out our granddaddy of the RAID cards that we have here at Unixsurplus. This is the best, highest performance machine we have right now. This is the final evolution of all of these 3Ware cards right here, mcc, into the latest LSI Megatrends card. It here has DDR3 memory, which is super fast. You have a very high-speed PCIe processor. You have external SAS or SATA connectors. And this will support up to 128 drives in the address bus. This is what we use here with our external SAS disk arrays with our cabling right here. Lastly, you also have a battery backup. And this is a nice big NiCad battery backup to support the RAID cache. So you have write caching. You also have internal ports that will support up to 8 internal SAS or SATA hard drives. Okay? So this is our latest LSI AMI Megatrends 3Ware mcc card that we have there. So I hope you've enjoyed our tour of hardware RAID cards. Each of these things here is great because you want write caching to make speed on your disk drive. When you put data into your card, it writes to memory instead of going out to the slow disk drives. A lot of Linux operating systems and modern server operating systems actually prefer to use software RAID unless you have write caching. And most of our cards nowadays support write caching or some form of write cache enabled, which gives you significant performance increases. So if you're looking to get a lot of data performance, just call one of our sales experts at 877-UNIX123, unixsurplus.com, or you can find us on eBay as well.